Aloha, I'm Jake Shimabukuro, and you're watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Well, welcome to the bomb cyclone 2024 aftermath. We are here in the greater Seattle area on Wednesday, the 20th of November, and we had a weather event come through last night that has unfortunately knocked out a lot of power around the area. And Jake has been kind enough to do the interview outside the venue, inside a vehicle. This is what's called flinking on the fly.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's nice and warm in here. It's perfect.
There we go. See, we were trying to think about that. So we can kind of deal with it, but wait a minute. Someone from Hawaii, probably kind of cold outside. But in any regard, welcome back to Edmonds last night, Kirkland tonight, and you've got a new album out as well. So we're going to try to get into everything.
Thank you.
But yeah, how is the tour going so far?
Oh, everything's been great. You know, we've been very fortunate, even with all the weather conditions. You know, we've been safe, and we've been getting to our destinations on time and safely. And yeah, so here in Kirkland, it's a bit of a challenge. We're still not sure if the show is going to happen because we don't have any power yet at the venue. But yeah, so we're just waiting, for them to make the call. Well, we're just waiting to see if the electricity will come back. So we're just putting positive, optimistic thoughts out there, and just good energy. So hopefully it'll happen. And yeah, the most important thing is everyone's safety, and just want to make sure that we are following the proper guidelines in a situation like this. And if the show can't happen tonight, then we will make sure that we can do a follow-up or a makeup show somewhere soon, so sometime soon. So stay tuned.
Okay, well, I can say, and I know my mom can probably say, that we really enjoyed the show last night. That did happen.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Auntie Carol's actually here, sitting in the front seat.
There she is. That's the plus of editing. I can always edit things.
No, you gotta keep her in. Yeah.
There you go. Do a nice close-up.
Auntie, did you enjoy the show last night?
Yes, I did.
Oh, good. So great. Yeah. What I think in moments like these, I was just this morning, even with the power outage, we were able to visit a local senior care facility here, and we're talking with them. We're like, oh, should we reschedule or something? But we thought, we'll just do an acoustic thing, and we'll just open up all the windows so that we get some lights. And it went great. We got to play some music. They sang along, and it was just such a nice, I think a good break or distraction, from all the challenges, with the power being out, and everyone was singing and smiling and having a great time. And that's what it's all about. That's what I love about music and about having the opportunity to share the ukulele with people, is that it brings people together, it brings the community together, and and it just helps to promote good, positive energy, and it was really great to see that, because sometimes we can get so wrapped up in all the things happening around us, and or to us or whatever, and and sometimes music and the arts, it has that power to just kind of lift us up and lift up the community, and raise the morale of the people around you, and that's the beauty of the arts, and creativity.
Absolutely. That's wonderful that you did that. I know your tour manager, Brett, was talking about that performance and how they pivoted as well. It's like, how do we get the residents from the second level? They couldn't take them down because there's no power. So, well, let's bring them outside, and then we'll have Jake over here, and then they can still see and hear everything. So,
it was nice. It was like almost like a theater where you had your balcony seats. So yeah, no, but it was really great. I mean, you mentioned the show last night. You attended our Edmund show last night, and yeah, it was just so beautiful. To see all the kids and the families in the audience, and people singing along at the last on the last tune. I mean, that just gave me like chills. Just gave me chicken skin. I was like, wow, it's so beautiful. And yeah, we're just so grateful, to have those kinds of experiences, and to and just to have that support, where we can come back every year, and we love coming to this part of the country, and especially I think sometimes in the colder seasons like these, it's nice to have some of that the island energy, or the some of that aloha energy, to help to warm our hearts, I think.
Yeah, very well said. And I mean, I've seen you a handful of times in Edmonds, and like last night was no exception. You're sold out there. You're sold out tonight if it happens. And that's a testament to your popularity here, because it's pretty rare to have back-to-back shows in, you're not even 10 miles away from the venues, and they both sell out. So like, you have a huge fan base here in the greater Seattle area, and I know you played Tacoma as well, and then you went over to Spokane.
Yeah.
And so we love you up here.
Oh, thank you. No, well, we love coming up here, and yeah, and like I said, we're just so grateful, and when people come out, and then they're taking time out of their week or their day, to come and just kind of experience the show with us, and that's so meaningful. We never take it for granted. And I think I shared this with you before. There's a Japanese word that means once in a lifetime, and it has to do with people coming together and taking a moment to recognize that this moment is very, very special and will never be repeated. So when you realize that this is like truly a once in a lifetime experience, because there will never be an exact experience like this happening ever again. And like, when I think about that, it makes me realize how precious every moment is, and reminds me to be present and grateful, and that's how I feel like every night at a show. It's just this unique group of individuals from the community coming together, and we get to share this experience, and it's always different. It's never the same. So I never take that for granted, and it's the Japanese expression is ichigo ichie, and the loose translation of that is once in a lifetime. But you can look at every moment in your life. I mean, even like right now, sitting here with Auntie Carol and you, and in the back of your car, and there's no power in the venue. We're sitting outside, in the back of the venue. But we're gonna remember this moment for forever. I mean, well, I know I will. This is the first time I've got to do an interview podcast like this in the back of a car. And thank you for being so flexible and pivoting and doing this. But but it's these kinds of moments that we just you never want to take it for granted, because you never know when you're going to see each other again, right? So that's what ichigo ichie is. And and it's hard. It's always challenging, right, to live in the moment, every moment, right? So but when for me, just trying to live like that, as best as I can, has been truly rewarding and fulfilling.
Yeah, I think Justin said something great on stage about you, because he called you the gratitude goat. And living a life of gratitude.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to joke around, like, years ago, and when I would perform on stage, and I would tell people that one of the best things about being a touring ukulele player is that audiences all over the world have such low expectations. And but later on, I started thinking about that, and it's so true, right? I think when we're children, right, when we're kids, because of lack of experience and life experiences, we not, I don't want to say we don't have a lot of expectations, right? A lot of times we can have lowered expectations, because so many things are new that we've never seen before. So it's so we're moved, or we're engaged, or we're fascinated, right? Or but I think sometimes as we get older, and we kind of have that mindset of, I've seen that before, been there, done that, or yeah, this was good, but I've had better, like that kind of mentality. Sometimes our expectations can get a little too high, and then we experience things with more moments of disappointment. I mean, maybe not disappointment, maybe that's too harsh a word, but versus, if our expectations are lowered, then everything around us, it feels new and fresh and unexpected, and like a surprise, and when you can kind of live more with that type of mindset, then you allow more joyous moments, I think, into your life, like, having French fries and be like, oh, this is so great, versus oh yeah, I've this one's good, but not as good as another place or something. But little things like that, and I try to for me, like every day, I love that, like just allowing myself to be surprised, or to be moved, or and it's that whole thing again of not taking anything for granted, but just enjoying it, in the moment, right? Like oh, this is so great in this moment, it is the best thing that I've ever had, right? So yeah, but the ukulele kind of taught me that, it's when you see an instrument like that, this simple 4-string little instrument, and you don't expect, right, a big sound to come out of it, or maybe certain types of music or styles, and then when you do experience that, you're kind of like, oh, it was kind of surprising, and I think that's kind of one of the things that draws me to the instrument, is that it's really, I realized early on that the instrument is not limited, right? The things around us are only limited by our own imagination, right, and creativity. So that was a really great lesson for me to learn.
Okay, it's such a healthy attitude and perspective that you just talked about, and
I'm not saying that I do that every day, but
no,
I try. I mean, the idea is to to try to steer yourself in that direction, and yeah.
I talk about it all the time in my interviews about intention. What is your intention? If your intention is to do these things, maybe you come up a little bit short every now and then, but at least you're trying to go that way.
Yeah.
Some people don't have the intention, and then they do things that maybe they would regret later because you weren't thinking about it in your head. And it's helped me. I used to be a teacher, so I used to work with students all the time talking about what is your intention. Were you trying to hurt that other student, or were you trying to actually get around them to get to your class? And sometimes I don't know, or sometimes they know exactly what they were doing. So okay, now we got to figure out how to change your intention so it's something positive.
Yeah.
And you've, ever since I've known you, met you, you've always come across with your gratitude. You're so unassuming. I mean, of all the people I've interviewed, from opera stars to film actors, other musicians, if you were walking down the street and someone didn't recognize you, they'd have no idea that you're this phenom of a ukulele player that played all around the world for years.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's inspiring to me to remain humble in anything that I do when I'm around someone like yourself. So you're already passing on lessons that you may not even be aware of to other people.
Oh, thank you. One of the things that I used to share with my kids is, I'm sure you have one too, but those one of those wooden back scratchers.
Oh yeah.
And so my grandma had a bunch of those, like all over the house, and if you've never seen one, it's just basically like a stick, and on the end is like a hand. That's where the fingers are curled like this, and you use it to kind of get those places where you can't reach. So I used to there were 3 principles that I used to that I used the back scratcher to remind them of, and it's to remind them. It's so the first is, like, when you look at the back scratcher and you look at the hand of the back scratcher, and you look at the fingers that are folded forward. I used to tell them that it reminds me of people bowing, right? And when you bow, you're showing your humility, and your respect. And so I told them that the hand part of the back scratcher always reminds me to be humble, right? And then the second thing is, when you look at the handle of the back scratcher, right, the long extension, I think of the lineage, of all the generations that came before us, right, that made the sacrifices, so that we could reach farther, than they could, and they made sacrifices so that we could have a better life today. So there's a Japanese saying, it's okage-sama day, which means I am what I am because of you. So when I think of the handle, it reminds me to be grateful, for all those people that helped us to get further in life. So that's the second one. And then the third one, when you hold the back scratcher out in front of you with the palm up and you hold it out, it's almost like you're offering your hand to help someone, and that's like an act of service. And so for me, that part of the back scratcher reminds me to be kind. So to be humble, grateful, and kind was something that I would always kind of share with my kids. And those are 3 principles that has really helped me, in my life, to always think about those things. So yeah.
I will never look at a back scratcher in the same way again. When I pull mine out from the drawer in the bathroom, I'm like, oh, remember what Jake talked about? This and that.
Humble, grateful, and kind. Yeah.
I love that, though. I love how you taught that lesson to your kids using something like that. That's probably the artist and the creative part of you, I'm guessing, coming out, because not everybody would think about that lking at a back scratcher. Like, this and this and that. But it makes perfect sense how you described it.
Thank you.
We'll kind of switch some gears with the blues experience. Your brand new album that you've recorded with Mick Fleetwood, and I can tell you one thing, that my number 1 guitar player as an influence was Gary Moore.
Oh.
And I know there's a song of his on your new album.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about how that came together?
Yeah, well, oh my goodness, let's see. Mick Fleetwood, he was a longtime resident of Hawaii, right? He lived on Maui for many decades, almost 30 years probably. And, we would see each other every now and then, and I was always just a huge fan, and we had talked about doing something together, at some point. And so to make a long story short, a couple years ago, I was doing a show on Maui, and he was in town, so he was kind enough to bring his family out to our show, and then we got to talk backstage, and we kind of said, like, we've been talking about doing something for a while now, so let's make it happen, So I was like, oh, that would be awesome. So of course he has his own studio on Maui, and he invited myself and a couple of the musicians that I play with. So we had Jackson Waldhoff on electric bass, who's been touring with me for the last 4 or 5 years now, and Michael Grande, who's a just great keyboard and music producer. The three of us flew up to Maui to meet Mick, and there we were in his studio, and we're just like amazed, just blown away, that we were gonna have this opportunity to record some music with him. So we went in there with no expectations. We just thought, well, let's just see what happens. We'll just kind of pick some songs and just kind of jam and see what would happen. So we picked a handful of songs, and at first it was a lot of blues-based tunes, because Mick Fleetwood is such a great blues musician. I mean, he started out as John Mayall's drummer, and then the early Fleetwood Mac band was a blues band with Peter Green, and you mentioned Gary Moore and all those guys. I mean, early Fleetwood Mac inspired all those guys. I mean, everyone from like Gary Moore to Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and all those guys. So we kind of went that bluesy direction, and we just had so much fun. Man, I was just so intimidated, playing with Mick Fleetwood, but he was so encouraging, and he just told us to just have fun, just play, don't hold back, and don't be afraid to try new things, so he kind of pushed us to get out of our comfort zone, and we just loved it, man. I mean, I was so inspired playing with him. We did everything live, and we cut songs like we did Gary Moore's Still Got the Blues, we did Peter Green's why am I blanking on the song, the title of the song right now? Need Your Love So Bad. And actually, Gary Moore covered that too. Yeah. Need Your Love So Bad. We did Jeff Beck's Cause We've Ended as Lovers. We did Rolling and Tumbling. We did I Want to Get Funky. And then we did some, not necessarily blues tunes, but some pretty iconic songs, like we did Christine McVie's Songbird. We did Whiter Shade of Pale, another classic. We did Rocking in the Free World, just straight ahead rock and roll. But yeah, it was just such a great experience, one that I'll always treasure. So the album, came out recently, and we're so thrilled, that we got to do this with him. So, and we have been doing some of the songs, in our shows, and it's been fun. Mick's not with us, but we've been having a great time.
Yeah, because we got to hear Because We Ended as Lovers last night.
That's right. Yeah,
that was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
and I think we did Kula Blues last night too, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we did the Kula Blues.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. Coming out of the pandemic, you've been putting out almost like an album a year and a half. I mean, you've had a lot of stuff come out, and so are you already kind of, with that, knowing that, do you have something else that you're already kind of poking around at for the next thing already?
Yeah, I'm working on something, at least a couple projects at once. So we do have a couple other albums or album concepts in the works right now. We're actually doing a George Harrison tribute record that I'm really looking forward to. We recorded. We're almost done with it. So it's we're very, very close. But we've been very fortunate because Olivia Harrison and of course Donnie Harrison have been so supportive of this project, and they chose a bunch of George's songs and sent them to me to have me arrange them for the ukulele. And so we recorded a lot of the tracks over at Abbey Road Studios. We flew up there to record, and we're hoping to wrap up this project hopefully by the middle of next year. so we can release it sometime late next year. But yeah, very, very excited. I mean, George Harrison, another incredible artist who was a Maui resident. But yeah, so that's going to be a very special project that I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. Yeah, so much to look forward to. You have albums coming out, and then you're always on the road, and then you got another album coming out, and then you're back on the road. At least for people like myself, once we got past the whole pandemic, it's kind of like we've been itching for, like, you can't give us enough of any artist. So it's like, put it out there. So like, that's not a situation where you want to be waiting on something anymore, because we kind of learned that lesson from that, when everything can be taken away from you.
Well, I think that too. I think the way we listen to music has changed so much, right? Like, I think that sometimes it's hard to know, like, if you're recording too much or you're recording too little, and most of the people I know now listen to things on digitally. Myself as well. I mean, it's so convenient. But one of the things I'm really excited about is that vinyl seems to be making a strong comeback, and that's my favorite way to listen to music. So recently we have been releasing all of our music on vinyl, and to me that's been really fun for me, because I never thought I would have my own, like, album, and there's just a sound. There's just something about it when you listen to music on vinyl. It just, even with all the, like, the even if it's a scratchy record or whatever, there's just something about it that just draws you in, and you just feel so connected, with what you're hearing, and I can't explain it. I don't know what it is, but it's always been my favorite way to listen to music, and I noticed that when I do listen to vinyl, I can put it on, and I won't, like, walk away from it, and do other things. Like, I'll put it on and I'll, like, sit and I'll just watch you just watch the record spinning. You just kind of sit there. It's like you're watching like a live performance, but there's nothing visual other than the record spinning. So yeah, so I think there's something about it that you just feel more connected, to it, and the process of taking it out of the sleeve, putting it on, and you take the needle and put it on the record. You feel like you're playing the album versus just like it's just playing. You feel like you're part of the music and part of the experience, because you're physically doing something, right? That, I don't know. Yeah, it's just but it is a special process.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like you said, it makes you feel like you're part of this process, almost like an event, when you're taking out a brand new album out of the cellophane and taking the sleeve out, and you're looking at the liner notes and the pictures, and you're watching this thing kind of mesmerize you as it spins around on the record player on the turntable. It's something that you can't replicate.
And then, and it lasts for about less than 20 minutes, and then you have to flip it over, right? So
yeah, it kind of lets you know that don't zone out too much, because now it's done. You gotta flip it over. Just like with cassettes, you gotta flip it over and stick it back in, depending on what kind of player you have. Jake, thank you so much for taking the time here.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I'm glad this all worked out. So I was kind of thinking, where could we go to sit down and and do the interview? Normally we do it backstage in the venue, but because the power is out, thought, maybe we could go to a cafe, but then it would have been too noisy, and this is perfect.
Great. Yeah, thank you again.
This is a song that was inspired by a friend of mine whose grandmother was she was ill, and we would go and visit her in the hospital, and she would share with us this vision that she would have of blue roses on the ceiling above her bed, and at night the petals would fall on top of her. And you know, I was always just so moved every time she told this story. So later I wrote this song for her, and it's called Blue Roses Falling.